like if there's any series I can get away with wearing a Burt Reynolds shirt, it's probably Cherry Magic. Who doesn't want to see like naked topped men on screen, right? So it's Romania Black. I got this shirt for my birthday, so I was like, I'm gonna support the person that got me for my birthday. But we're on episode 11 of Cherry Magic. We're on the penultimate episode. A wild shirt to fit a wild ride is seemingly what we're going on. And yeah, I've got several comments for episodes 7, 8, and 9 that I want to talk about. But I will keep reading your comments up until the very end and commenting and replying to them because this series is so good and I'm super excited about it. I think I talked about this in the last video. I think I'm going to read the manga. Now, how much I'm going to read, it'll probably be like a volume a month and I've got to catch up and then do a recap of the volumes that go over here. So we'll see about that. But I'm not going to like overwork myself because my schedule is like, if you guys go to my update videos, you see how much I'm doing per month. But I do want to sneak in like a volume of Cherry Magic per month until we're caught up. I think that's reasonable. That'll go with my attempts to get more BL into the channel. So that'll work. But I don't think I'm going to watch the other adaptations right now. I'm definitely not going to react to them. I don't usually have time to watch anything outside of my channel, like except for reruns of Drag Race because I'm just doing that while editing. So to really pay attention to something, I may watch it on my own time. We'll see. But in any case, we need to talk about this comment section that I have to go through because it was quite big. Emery on a cross 9361 for episode 7 says wearing a dope sketch shirt is pretty fitting because, and it was a Skate the Infinity shirt. If you know, you know. Because Longa's Japanese voice actor and Cherry or Kaoru's English voice actor both speak for Adachi. I was like, oh, I knew that Longa and Cherry had the same, the voice actor for Longa was in Japan was also Cherry and Kaoru's voice actor. That's interesting that voice actors play the same character in Adachi. That's really cool. I love that. Love the crossover Skate the Infinity. Another fun fact, I don't know if you noticed in the scene where Kurosawa and Adachi meet up for their date, there's a pan over a street sign that says Renga on it. When this episode came out, a few Reki and Longa fans, including me, spotted it. I think I missed that, but that's amazing. Love it. Anytime we can support Skate the Infinity ships, I am right there with it. So that's awesome. Nice. Sunspots for episode 8 says there was a nice visual moment when Adachi and Tsuge were talking with the lift behind them covering them in darkness as they thought of their anxieties. A tiny touch, but I really liked it. Yes, the symbolism in this series works very well. Some people work for seasons to tame the tsundere. Yes, even so. Yes, does Tsuge even understand how powerful he is for this? Tsuge does not understand his power to tame the tsundere, but right now Tsuge is doubting that power because he thinks that Minato has moved on without him, and we the audience are like, Tsuge, come on, don't give up. So hopefully, I'm like fingers crossed that we get some resolution with them this episode, and then we have the season finale to get resolution with Adachi and Kurosawa. So we're going to see how that goes. We're going to see how that goes. Starry Coons for episode 8 says, I love how in this series they figure out things pretty quickly and easily. I wonder if it's because they're fully grown adults or something. I don't know, but it's great. Yeah, that is literally my favorite thing about this series is that we don't have this BS miscommunication trope that I feel happens so often with high school romances and high school anime. Because when you're in high school, you're not as confident in yourself. You're not as confident in your voice. You're not as confident in that things are going to work out. It's very like doom and gloom if things don't work out. And there's lots of pressure and you're getting used to yourself and you're trying to figure things out. So I feel like it's nice to focus on series where they're fully grown adults because they've had life experience. They've probably been in a relationship before maybe, even though Adachi has not. But they're more sure of themselves and more confident. That's why y'all can't sleep on Old Man Yowie. Old Man Yowie is so freaking good. Old Man Yowie, miscommunication. Oh, hell no, we're going to talk this out. Miscommunication. Oh, hell no, we're taking it to the bedroom and we'll sort it out there. Miscommunication. No, this guy's a jerk. Bye. I love Old Man Yowie so much because just like in this series, they're adults. They don't have time for BS. Old Man Yaoi, they're 2 steps away from the death door. They got to get this on now. Ain't got time to waste on miscommunication tropes. But Cherry Magic does what those series do as well, in that we don't waste time. We're confident. We're communicators. Let's just get down to brass tacks. And I love it. So thank you, Starry Coons, for noting that. Emery on Across 9361 for episode 8 came back and said, I love how in Cherry Magic you bring up the other men meme, because the origin of that meme comes from the Cherry Magic J-drama. What? Okay. No, other men isn't actually said in the J-drama. That dialogue is just made up for the meme. Don't look up the actual context of the J-drama scene because it's major spoilers. Yeah, I was going to, and then I read that line and was like, okay, I won't. But yeah, it's still funny to see these things come full circle. I cannot believe that meme, I have seen that meme so many times, done for so many series, and you mean to tell me it originated in Cherry Magic? Oh, that feels so good. That's awesome. So yeah, I won't look up the scene, but maybe you all can let me know if I can look it up after episode 12 or if I need to wait and read the manga. Visa Cake, episode 9, says Asahina has a very deep voice and is kind of attractive. And that just made me think that, which, one, agree, but two, everybody in this office is like amazing. Everybody, this is one of the most attractive offices to work in. I was like, are there job applications? I'll sit next to Fujisaki and we just simultaneously in sync eat noodles and watch the BL go down, right? And then finally Sunspots comes back with a comment for episode 9. One thing I found really funny is the fact that Adachi has this power the longest, but Tsuge has it the shortest, and Kurosawa doesn't have it at all. And yet, Tsuge and Kurosawa are so much better at using it to their advantage. Poor Adachi, our struggling bean. Yeah, I feel for Adachi because I think I was thinking about it when I commented back to Sunspots. I believe the reason for that is that Kurosawa is a dreamer. He's an idealistic dreamer, so his imagination is like, oh, what we could do with this power. And Tsuge is an author, so he has to have creativity and kind of know, he's like, oh, well, if I was using this power for my characters, this is what I would do. Adachi is very practical and pragmatic, so his creativity spectrum isn't quite as developed as Tsuge or Kurosawa. So what can we do? Anyway, so I loved all those comments. Those were fantastic. Me and Burt Reynolds are ready to get down to this episode and see what all we're going to get. So I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well. But I got my tea and I'm ready to spill the tea when it comes to this episode. So in any case, I hope you all are as well. I'm so excited. I can't believe we're on the penultimate episode, but I'm not sad because I am going to be watching the manga and reading it. So we'll let that go. But okay, I'm going to try to get this to go back to the beginning. Again, this streaming service has been awful lately in terms of that, but there we go. There we go. So anyway, we're going to get started with Cherry Magic episode 11 and see what we get, y'all. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. Oh, friends. Oh, friends. The tea is quite good. I can't wait to read this in the manga. I cannot wait to read this in the manga. Oh, there's a part of me that's like, did they cut out anything from the manga? But then there's a part of me that's like, no, probably not. It's because this is the beginning of them like on a mutual basis with their relationship. And I am 100% here for it. So get out of there, whiteboard coon. So let's talk about this. I was really surprised. I thought we were saving Kurosawa and Adachi's confrontation for next week. I really genuinely did. I thought this week was going to be all about Tsuge Minato, but honestly, it's weird. We've kind of gone like on a teeter-totter of how developed their relationships are, because for a while it seemed like Adachi and Kurosawa were picking up steam and they were making all this progress, and then it seemed like they kind of like backed off a little bit, and Minato and Tsuge made a huge leap of progress. And then now it's like Adachi and Kurosawa are on the same page and getting there, and Tsuge's the one hesitant. Minato's got to be like, are you gonna make a tsundere explain it to you? I love that Minato's like, do you really have to have me explain this? Is this really happening? I was like, I love it. It's great. But yeah, Tsuge is me. I can't even be mad at him because I would be Tsuge, right? I would be Tsuge. I liked it again. They did not beat around the bush to get this stuff resolved, right? Which is sweet. Man, look, I got two things to say about that coffee pot that started us out in this episode. One, you know that you're suffering if you've not finished off the coffee pot. It's a sad day if you're not even willing to drink coffee. But also, does Kurosawa need help making coffee? That is some watery, see-through coffee. I like my coffee dark, y'all. I like my coffee like I like my men, emotionally unavailable. But yeah, that coffee is like, I had three roommates in college. One was a girl, and I had two guy roommates, right? We split the apartment in half, where the girls stayed on one side and the guys stayed on the other. And one of my guy roommates would get up every morning. He was the first person to go to class, and he'd make coffee. It looked like that coffee. It was see-through, it was watery, was not good. And then he'd go off to class, and my other guy roommate would come out, and he wouldn't say a word. He would just walk to the coffee pot, get it, dump it, and redo it. Because he could actually make good coffee, and we never told the other guy roommate. We never told him. He was like, man, you guys cleaned up that coffee. We're like, mm-hmm. We just never told him. We were like, nope, we don't want to start that. But yeah, poor Kurosawa. I like Kurosawa's apartment now that we see it from a different angle. It's super cute. I love that he has the little two dogs and the record and the lamp. Lots of plants. It's super cute. I love it. He looks so worse for wear, though. Which, again, Adachi, is a kind of practical person where he's like, I'm just going to take my time, think about what I need to say, figure it all out, and then I'll come back to Kurosawa. And he's sad and doesn't want to be away from Kurosawa, but he feels like that's the justice he needs to do for him, is to go and think of what he wants to say and write the letter and everything. Kurosawa is a mess without Adachi, which is so crazy. He's just a mess. And it's like, oh no, sweetheart. Like, he's just going through it. I feel so bad for him. He's like, can we talk after work? Which the weather there looks decent. He's looking at the weather of Nagasaki, and it is going to rain. It looks like it's going to rain the next day. The following day, it's supposed to be thunderstorms. But then the day after, that's supposed to be nice and sunny. So maybe next week's season finale will be a nice little sunny episode for it, you know? But yeah, the thing that gets me is this series exploring how we see our actions in the eyes of others. Because Kurosawa thinks he's messed up. He thinks that he was like too harsh and all this. I'm like, dude, you were not too harsh. Adachi needed to hear what you said. So Kurosawa's giving himself such a hard time. And I'm like, no, you actually did nothing wrong. And I feel that because like my best friend and I, sometimes I'll say something and then afterwards I'm like, oh, was that bitchy? Should I have said that? And then I'll text and be like, I'm sorry if that came off weird. And she's like, I didn't think it came off weird. And she'll do the same thing. She's like, I'm sorry if that seemed weird. And I'm like, no, it didn't. So it's just like communicate with each other, and it usually resolves things so easily. But damn, Kurosawa is going through it. And so he describes himself as having this selfish rage and jealousy, which Adachi knows that Kurosawa can get jealous. I don't think that Adachi thought Kurosawa was jealous of him talking to the one guy, but we, the audience, kind of know that he was. So that's the interesting part. The interesting part is Kurosawa admits here, he's like, I was mad that Adachi didn't confront me first. I was jealous that he went to the other guy friend and had drinks with him and talked with him first instead of coming to me, who's supposed to be his boyfriend. Like, we get that from the episode, but I don't know if Adachi realizes that Kurosawa was jealous in the moment, right? He's like, he seemed really frightened. I was so happy he fell for me after hearing all of my thoughts. I took him for granted. And he's just such a sweetheart. He's like, I have no right to dictate Adachi's choices. But Adachi's like, yeah, I probably should have been communicative with you, and that's kind of on me. But these two bakas, they just think it's each other's fault, right? He's like, I wanted to apologize, but I couldn't do it. And then he's like, well, no, that's not it. I just avoided it because I was afraid that he'll leave me. The fact that the man that everyone in the office space is calling perfection is afraid that Adachi is going to leave him is just, it's saying something. I feel for our boy. I feel for our boy so hard. And then he gets the letter. I love that. We talked about this last week that we thought, Tsuge being a novelist, his solution would be, well, no, don't text. That's too impersonal. But if you can't get your feelings out in words, write him a letter. And that inspires him to go to the hotel that Adachi is staying at. But I thought this was super cute. I think love letters are adorable. I think they're wonderful. And I think that they are excellent ways of communicating how you feel with someone, especially if you're not sure in the moment. Because sometimes in the moment, it's hard to say things. And you're like, I don't know how to get this across. But text messaging is just too impersonal. Text messaging is just like, it feels cold. Whereas writing a letter takes some effort. And that effort shows in the letter itself. And I was like, that's super sweet. Like, I love that. I love that so much. I also love just the romantic side of letters because there's a distance. It takes some time to get there to them. It builds up affection. It builds up the intensity. My grandparents, they wrote love letters to each other all the time because they lived really far apart. And it's so sweet. Like, it's very sweet. He's like, I'm sorry I didn't consult you about the transfer. And so he basically just says everything that we, the audience, know that he needs to say. I love it. He's like, there's one thing I hope that you believe. I love you so much that being away from you makes me anxious. And I just love Kurosawa holding the letter up to him like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. He's not mad at me. He's not going to break up with me. He loves me. He's like, I need to go hear it in person from him. And so he instantly plans out his trip to go there. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's the first time I told someone I loved them in a letter. Oh, I love that. He's like, I wrote my first love letter at 30 years old. And so then we have this one guy. This guy, if you told me he was going to be a bump in the road on this love series and be possibly a potential threat to Kurosawa, I'd believe it. This guy seems like he fell for Adachi instantly. Like, Adachi, what I love about it is Adachi's like, is my charisma that is increased in this episode and my fervor and energy, is that from Kurosawa? And I'm like, no, I think that Adachi always had that within him, but being with Kurosawa has helped him communicate more and gained more confidence as a person, which is starting to cross over into other aspects of his life other than just his romance life. It's starting to impact his business too. This guy, what was his name? Kusumoto? Kusumoto could be a threat from the neighboring branch because it seemed like he was taking whatever Adachi was throwing down. I was like, uh-huh. He's like, I'm in charge of the opening. So yeah, whatever these people sell, Gen Z items and such, Adachi has all of these ideas, and Kusumoto is just like a little workaholic bean, and he is so excited by what Adachi is throwing down on all these different ideas. I'm like, Kurosawa, you better stake claim now because Kusumoto is going to be wheeling in. He's got the glasses and the floofy hair and the tan skin. You better watch. But I love it. I love just Adachi being so like positive and excited about his progress and people like listening to him and enjoying what he has to say. I love it. I love it. The old me wouldn't have been this positive. Is that his influence as well? And he's like, even though we're apart, I keep thinking about him. Speaking of thinking about someone that they are in love with, we cut to Tsuge, who's just like, I love the atmosphere. The curtains are drawn. He has the SpongeBob meme where he's wrote nothing in 5 days. There's like Sinead O'Connor is playing in the background. I just like, poor Tsuge. Tsuge is me. If I was miserable, I would be doing the exact same thing because he believes. And I don't blame Tsuge for being like sad because unlike Adachi and Kurosawa, unlike the two of them, their breakup was mutually understood. Like they both understood it. They need time away from each other. They took that time away from each other, and now they're restarting that communication. With Minato, he just left. And granted, we find out in this episode the reason why he just had to leave was because he was like had an NDA contract. But I'm like, even though you couldn't like disclose what was going on, you could have told Tsuge, hey, I gotta go. Some stuff is in the works. I can't talk about it, but know that I appreciate you coming in to see me and all the stuff you've done for me. He could have contacted Tsuge to tell him that, but Minato's a damn tsundere, and he didn't do it. And then he struggled to figure out what to say. And meanwhile, Tsuge saw it and like took it as the worst. He thought it was the worst thing happening and that it was the worst case scenario. And I'm like, I love when he's in front of the computer and he goes, I'm an author. I'm like, you tell yourself that, Tsuge. You tell him you're an author. And he's like, I'll just turn my unrequited feelings into a novel. Which he talks about later on, that all the romance books he's wrote have been based on people he's fell in love with. But those novels were written based on feelings of falling in love, not necessarily feelings of a love falling apart, which is a very different emotion and a very different motivation for a story. I like with the cautious eyes of a cat. Every character he writes about is just about Minato, and he's like, son of a bitch. So yeah. So the one thing is, I wish we'd spent more time on. I wonder if there is more in the manga. I hope when I review the manga, because if I do start the manga, I'll do like what I've done with Bloom Into You and some other series, and like Urmichi Oni-san. I'll go back through the manga that covers the anime. I'll read that in my own time, and then recap for you all before picking up where the anime leaves off at. Okay? That's usually how I do it. So if there are extra things happening in the manga, then I would come back and start talking about those that were left out and recap all of that before starting the new volume. That's my plan. That's usually how that goes. So we'll see. But yeah, I wish we'd gotten more with the concert and the guys. Like, they're all in the matching uniforms and Minato's not in the matching uniform. Also, Minato is tiny. By drag queen standards, he is gorgeous compared to these tall men that all look like tall and athletic as dancers, and Minato's just there with them. Okay, and they're like, day one was a blast. And they're like, it was sick. Like, the view from the stage was awesome. Like, they're such dudes. I love them. And they're like, someone left it at reception for you after the performance. And it was a pair of new shoes. I like that the shoes that he gives him are yellow. Yellow, if you're talking about like color symbolism, yellow is a color that means caution, and it symbolically means like being wary of something or you're not quite sure, which channels very well into Tsuge's feelings about Minato at this moment. I mean, tall man wearing glasses, who else could it be? My thing is, I realize, I feel like Minato, he was waiting for a sign and for a motivation to go after Tsuge, and he just didn't, I like that Minato was like, I can't just text you because that's really impersonal, which is kind of the advice, but he didn't think of writing a letter, so he's like, I didn't know what else to do, and he's like, I was just kind of waiting for the right moment to talk to you about my feelings, and now that he's seen Tsuge, leave the present, he's like, now's the time. Yeah. Okay, the only thing about the episode that I was like, about, is they kind of skipped out on some animation, like they just showed like pictures of Tsuge walking through the venue, and then a picture of them dancing at the concert. Like, there was not any animation, which they were saving all their animation for that love scene at the end. So take that what you will. But I am glad that we see the guys all on stage. He's like, I'm glad Minato's dream came true. Minato had already changed out of his dance outfit by the time they got backstage. And I love that when his phone rings, he's like, what? I'm busy wallowing in my misery. I was like, I would be Tsuge. I would be Tsuge in a heartbeat. But yeah, and then Minato catches up to him. He's like, I'm sorry I ignored your messages. Shota-san invited me to join a group he was putting together. I couldn't tell you since it was last minute, and the group itself was a secret. I mean, he could have texted him or something, but I get what he's saying. He's like, the timing just worked out horribly. He's like, I didn't assume that you would think that we broke up and I never would talk to you again. Because that's the vibe that Tsuge gives off. He's like, oh, well, I guess you're moving on. And Minato's like, well, the truth is I didn't know how to respond to your ulterior motives. And so he's like, I didn't know what to say. And then he says there whether they were some trick or whether they were genuine affection. I do think it feels a little bit sad that he thought they were a trick, which that gives us some insight into Minato's character. Here's the thing. Adachi has had no relationships before. So Adachi, when he gets the confession from Kurosawa, believes that it is absolutely genuine, right? And Kurosawa, you know, would have no reason to think that Adachi's affections are a trick or anything, right? But what's interesting is, like, Tsuge and Adachi both have the ability to read minds. So they could probably discern whether someone's affections were a trick or not. Minato and Kurosawa are very different in this response, where Kurosawa, he doesn't think anything's a trick, but Minato gives off the vibes of someone that has been fooled before and has been dumped or cheated on or done wrong before. And so he's very cautious about relationships, which is such an interesting contrast to Kurosawa and Adachi. So the fact that he's like, I didn't know if this was genuine or if your ulterior motives were like a trap or a trick, which is interesting. Also in his phone for his chats, he's chatted with Sports Smart, which makes sense for dance equipment, Dance Studio Door, which makes sense, Nice Japan, I don't know what that is, Tsuge, he has 500 messages from Tsuge, and then he's talked to Rokaku since Suge's been messaging him, and he's been messaging Calico Cats. Like a fan group? What is happening? My dude, I guess those are all lines. He's like, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Aw. And then Tsuge's like, well, I assumed the worst. As a sensible adult, I should tell him I misspoke. No! I was so glad that Tsuge did not go the route of deny his feelings. Because I'm like, no, don't deny the feelings. Why are you ruining it for yourself? I was like, no, you are a sensible adult. That's bullshit. BS. He's like, I simply support him. No, tell him how you feel, Tsuge. Don't be like that. Be nonsensical. He's like, at first I thought he was just some punk delivery man. But it's like, tell him how you really feel. And then he's like, I was kind to you because I wanted you to like me. I'm like, thank God. Thank God he was honest with his feelings. I was like, don't doubt yourself. The dancer in the book you read was modeled after you. So it appears that he writes like heterosexual romance, which, okay, which is interesting. And I do like that he apologizes by not asking him before he wrote the character, because he's like, I'm sorry if that, you know, was a affront to your character, if you thought I was, you know, being weird by writing how rude you were in the book. And he's like, I won't do that again. I thought my feelings would never be reciprocated, even if I fell in love. So I resolved my feelings by writing about the books about the people I fell for, which is why he's such a famous author. After all romances are possible within stories, and there's no chance of me getting hurt. But after meeting you, no story compares to the real you. I'm in love with you. I was like, oh, Tsuge, written like a true romantic. But then he believes, I also love the little side card where it's the two of them facing each other and the cat and the book and everything on the ground. Adorable. But then he's like, you know, he's like, I understand that I'm in love with you, but I understand, you know, I'm sorry this is so sudden. It's an important time for you. And then he says, I doubt we'll meet again. I'm like, you just confessed your love? What do you mean you don't think you're going to meet again? And I love that Minato is like, why are you giving up? Like, you literally just confessed to me. Why are you deciding whether or not I'm going to date you or not? Minato's like, excuse me, I'm also here. And I get a say in this. You don't get to resolve this alone. He's like, I thought you were just some weird guy at first. But whenever I was about to lose heart, you always encouraged me. I danced at the audition because I wanted you to see me. So just don't disappear on me without saying anything. I love that. And now, right now, Minato has no idea about the powers. He doesn't know about the telepathy yet. So that's going to have to come out at some point. If not next week in the manga. But the height difference between them, I mean, there's a height difference between Adachi and Kurosawa, but the height difference between these two is like some for real height difference. I'm ready for that. He's like, and I like these, like, can't you figure it out? Aren't you a romance novelist? I love that his ears and his face are like pink. I love his little tips of his ears turn pink. And he's like, aren't you a romance novelist? Can't you get that I like you? He's like, I'm a tsundere. Why are you making me say it? And then I like the curse that Tsuge nearly faints where he's like, my blood sugar. And then I was like, oh shit, I gotta go easy on him. And then he asked, may I hug you? Which, okay, first of all, consenting kings. Yes, we love a good consent. But I'm like, I like that Minato's like, hug. Okay, that's all. These guys are going to be slow burn. And I'm okay with that because Tsuge is such a sweetheart. But that hug was so cute. He's like, you don't have to ask for permission, Baka. Oh, I've written countless romances. But reality doesn't have answers or plots. Love makes fools of us all, but that's not a bad thing. That's so cute. I can't wait to see how their relationship develops. They're such sweethearts. So meanwhile, Adachi is thinking about how it's a miracle. He never thought anybody would love him back, but of all people, it's the most popular handsome man at work. Go figure. And I do love that back in like episode 2 or 3 when we saw Kurosawa's face, like he looks very manly there, very masculine, very handsome. And then when we saw the person standing by the pillar of the hotel, I'm gonna be real with you, I thought it was Rokaku at first because they were all like hunched over and their hair was like flat against their head and it didn't look like Kurosawa. I literally thought it was Rokaku and I was like, why is Rokaku here? What's happened to him? And then we saw it was Kurosawa and I was like, oh. So yeah, he shows up. I love that. I was like, the scandal of them not taking a bath before they do things. The scandal of it all. Because usually in anime, in Japanese culture, you take a bath before you do anything, no matter what. These filthy boys, these filthy, dirty boys getting all frisky here on the bed of this hotel, which is a hotel bed. So, I mean, let's be real. And then that's when Adachi's like, you really came to hear me say it out loud? Okay. He's like, I wish I had magic powers too. And then I'd know what you're thinking. This confession by Adachi, where he talks about the eyebrows and talks about he just spills it all at once, everything about him that he loves. And then Kurosawa is so like excited and overstimulated. He's like, slow down. I've got to catch it all. He's like, I think it's cute. He's like, well, that's not even a tenth of all the thoughts that he shared with me. And he's like, I'm so happy. More like so surprised. I can't remember everything he's saying. What a waste. I wish I could record this. No, I want him to tell me again. I can feel his unbearable joy and embarrassment through his fingers. How can I express the affection I have for him? Words aren't enough. And I love that he says this out loud, this part, where he's like, just as I've been touching your heart, I want you to touch mine. Adachi, that's a damn romantic phrase right there. Dear God, that's romantic. That's so cute. And then for Adachi to be the one to initiate the kiss and the reflection of them in the background during the kiss. It's so good. And the way that he uses I'm a sucker for somebody that uses like a hand on a cheek or a jaw. And then the other hand, he's like holding hands with him. And I love this entire scene, how like just subdued it was. Like there was just a little tinkling of a piano, like mimicking the rain. It was so understated and beautiful. And then damn, Kurosawa just like getting him closer to him and then doing the very smooth grab the back of his head and flip him over. That man, oh my gosh. Now, do we think that they have sex in this moment? I don't know. I feel like they fooled around. There might have been a handy J. There might have been a handy J initiated, but I don't think they've had sex. I don't think they have sex in this scene. There might have been a hand job or a blow job initiated in that, but I don't know if they were, getting down to the nitty gritty. I don't know. I do like that move. That move where I like the sequence of them holding hands because it shows they're on the same page and they are together in the same scenario. But that move by Kurosawa where he takes the thumb and he's like caressing his thumb, I've seen it in Don Mai, but hand intimacy is just like, I don't have a hand fetish, but I do think that when animators use hand, intimacy as a way to get past the censors, I'm like, oh, yes, please. But it's so good. And it's almost like Kurosawa coaxing him, saying like, it's okay, you can, do whatever. I don't know. I don't think they've had sex, but I do think that there was definitely some kissing. Like, he was starting to kiss down his jaw and stuff, and I was like, show us, you cowards. Show us. But the hand is a good metaphor. But I do think that there was like some kissing and maybe some handy J's or blowy J's going on. Maybe. We'll see. And then next week is the season finale. Now, I do have 2 extra things that are going to happen next week with the season finale. One is Anime Annie has compiled, apparently there were a bunch of little shorts, kind of like with the Apothecary Diaries, there's some shorts. Now with the Apothecary Diaries, I did those in a separate video, but since I'm doing the manga for this series, I was like, no, we'll just do it next week with the season finale. So there's going to be the shorts, the Anime Annie compiled, so thanks, Anime Annie, for that one. And then 2, Sunspots, in conjunction with my moderator, Be Happy. The movie, I have been told by the moderator that the movie is a compilation movie. It's a recap movie. I'm not going to react to the movie for the animation. Although, Sunspots did give my moderator, there's an extra scene that is new in the movie. Could it be something related to this episode, mayhaps? I hope so. I hope the movie gives us some extra content related to this episode, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. This is me being wishful thinking now. But we are going to look at that next week and check that out. So that's going to be a thing. So we're going to have the extra scene from the movie. That's the new scene. And then we're also going to have the shorts to watch after we're done reacting to the episode. So I'll probably do the episode reaction, then the discussion, then we'll do those reactions to those moments, and I'll just cobble them in together with the reactions. So you'll see it all together. But this episode was so good, but it has me so excited to see what's going to happen next week with the season finale, and then we'll go from there. So, yep. Anyway, I'm super excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm going to be back real soon with the season finale and lots of bonus things for Cherry Magic. Bye!